It's time to cook with Susan Beck. Well, last week I showed you how to make yogurt in a crock pot. You can use a big crock pot or a small crock pot. Today though, I'm going to show you how I make yogurt in my yogurt maker. It comes with this lid, and one of the things I love is it comes with these individual serving size jars that your yogurt will be in and all ready to eat. Now, all these jars sit in this little cardboard, I guess I should say, holder, which will not be put into our yogurt maker. Instead, all the jars will go into this yogurt maker, which we will fill with water. And one of the advantages of the yogurt maker over making it in just the crock pot, which I said I made a video of last week, so you can watch both to do what you'd like, is that this can have a set steady temperature. When this yogurt sits, it will stay at 110 degrees or whatever temperature you choose to set it at. 110 is kind of my magic number. Also, I think the fact that there's water around all the jars really helps to get it to set up better than it does in the crock pot, where the center sometimes doesn't get quite as thick as I would like it to. But as I mentioned before, I do think starting out doing it in a crock pot just to see if you like to make yogurt before investing in one of these. You can buy these for, I don't know, $30, $35. It's not an expensive appliance to have in your house by any means. You need very little in terms of ingredients to make yogurt. You're going to need some whole milk and you need some yogurt. I am going to use my own homemade yogurt to make more yogurt. As for other utensils, I still like to use my crock pot to heat the milk up, but you can definitely heat your milk in a saucepan on the stove. You are going to be needing a yogurt maker if that's the way you choose to make this. You will also need a whisk, a measuring cup, and definitely a thermometer. I'll use my tablespoon to measure my. We have to put our milk into our crock pot and get it up to 180 degrees. I usually make 3 cups of whole milk into yogurt every time I make it, and then I make yogurt, probably every 10 days. So into my crock pot goes 3 cups of whole milk. Now we want to raise this temperature to 180 degrees, make sure that there's no bacteria, nothing that's going to interfere with our yogurt cultures that thicken this and actually change it from milk into yogurt. And also by raising the temperature and lowering it back down, it seems to have an effect on making it thicker. So sometimes I'll even raise it up to even 182, 183 degrees, but definitely get it to at least 180 degrees. Now this will take at least an hour. With 3 cups of milk, it's usually an hour and 15 minutes. The more milk I would have in there, obviously it would take a little bit longer. So I usually set a timer for an hour, and then I check it with my thermometer, and then we also have to cool it back down. So the yogurt making itself is very simple. A little time consuming though, just in that I need to be home so I can check the temperature. But for the most part, it just sits here. I do want to say, if you do it on the stove, you can raise that temperature to 180 degrees a lot quicker. And this yogurt that I made last week, that's going to be my starter for my new cups of yogurt, needs to go back into the refrigerator. I don't want it to warm up yet. We will get that yogurt out after we reach 180 degrees. Well, we've made it to just a tiny bit past 180 degrees, so we're ready to cool down this whole milk. Now is when I want to take my yogurt from last week out of the refrigerator, and I want this yogurt to get to room temperature, and it takes about the length of time that it's going to take for this milk that's 180 degrees to drop down to 110 degrees. I usually just remove it from there to help speed up the cooling process, and I will set that here on another hot plate that I did have ready. And do notice that you can sometimes get a little skimming of the milk on there on the top. Usually you can just kind of stir it in. We now have to wait another 45 minutes or so to get this milk down to 110 degrees, because we don't want it too hot or we'll kill those active cultures that we find in the yogurt that we're using. Now, I am using the yogurt that I made last week. So once you make yogurt, you can just keep making more yogurt from your previous batches. But if you've never made yogurt before, you're going to need some starters. So you can buy some starter yogurts online and things, or just go to the store and buy a good plain yogurt that has good, strong, active cultures, and maybe just Google ones that are especially good for making yogurt. A lot of people I know choose to start with a Greek yogurt. I think my homemade yogurt reminds me more of a Greek yogurt than others as well. So anyway, pausing this video one more time, we've got a little wait to get this milk down to 110 degrees. We've reached 110 degrees, so we're going to add that yogurt starter, which has been sitting on the counter, coming to room temperature. So I don't want to just put my yogurt right into this. It's kind of like when you add eggs to something, you don't want those eggs to curdle and so forth. And since this milk is still a little on the warm side, we're going to add just a little bit of it, like, I don't know, half a cup or so. I just put it back into my measuring cup. Since I have 3 cups of milk in total, I am going to use 3 tablespoons of my yogurt. So I'm just measuring out 3 tablespoons and putting those into, again, that smaller container of milk. Then I just kind of like to whisk that together. I mentioned a minute ago that I am making this overnight. I almost always make this overnight. If I don't, I like to get it started right away in the morning. But as a working woman, it's a lot easier just to make it at nighttime. Usually I will make it while I'm starting supper, and then my milk heats up. I get it all warmed up while supper's cooking, and then as we're cleaning up supper, I am ready to let it go back down to the 110 degrees. It needs to sit in, whether you keep it in a crock pot or you move it into a yogurt maker, it needs about 8 hours. And if it's a little bit short of that, that's okay. If it sits more like for 10, which mine sometimes does, because I'm not going to get up in the middle of the night and take care of it. So, if it's ready at 8 o'clock and I don't look at it again until, 6 in the morning, that's okay. That's okay. It'll be all right, especially when you're making it in a yogurt maker, because I'm going to show you the dials in a minute and how you can set it for how long it stays warm. So that's one of the advantages of using this yogurt maker, is that it does keep this temperature pretty steady. But I'm going to just fill each of these little containers, unlike my other video where I left it in the crock pot and I wrapped it in towels and let it just sit on the counter overnight. This time I am going to remove it. It's still going to sit on the counter overnight though. And I have it in some water that surrounds each of these cute little jars that came with the yogurt maker. Now sometimes these aren't completely empty, so I also have these jars that mushrooms came in, and they fit in here perfectly so that I have like 2 sets of yogurt containers. Now my yogurt starter came from my sister. She made yogurt at my house one summer and gave me 1 jar, and that's what I started with. So, if you know me personally, just ask. I would be glad to share some of my yogurt with you to get you started. I got just a little bit left, so I'm going to go ahead and fill this up. And I'm going to get 5 servings of yogurt out of my 3 cups today. There's 7 of these that come in a yogurt maker. What do I do with my yogurt? I eat it just like it is, often with some granola on top, or I might add chia seeds, poppy seeds, flax seeds. I love to throw craisins on it. Raisins would be another option. Now this is unsweetened yogurt. You could add vanilla to it before you put it into the little containers, back here at the stage where we had it cooled down to 110 degrees if you wanted to make it into vanilla yogurt. I have really adjusted to liking this no sugar yogurt, and I really have a hard time even eating the yogurt from a store anymore. But if you find that it's just not sweet enough for you at all, because it's really not sweet at all, I guess it's a little bit on the tart side, those craisins add a little bit of sweetness, granola adds a little sweetness, but a drizzle of honey on it is also very good. All right, let's have a closer look at this little machine I'm going to use. So here are my 5 containers of yogurt made with 3 cups of whole milk. They are surrounded by water. Down here I have a little dial, and I'm just going to press the button on the left, which will tell me how many degrees do I want, and 110 is the number that I like. And then on this side, I'm going to say I want it to run for 8 hours. Now this light's on, I need this light to come on as well. And now my yogurt maker will turn itself off in 8 hours, and then my yogurt will be ready to go into the refrigerator in the morning. I do like to chill it usually for a day before I eat it. So we'll just put this lid on, and it's time for me to go to bed because I made this yogurt a little later at night than I usually do. Time is up, it's flashing. It's ready to come out of the yogurt maker and go into the refrigerator. All right, lift that off, and there is our beautiful yogurt. Notice how it's set up inside there. I love these little containers because all I have to do is kind of dry the water off and pop on a lid. I'm gonna put these into the fridge and let them chill all day. Well, here is our yogurt after it's been chilled. It's set up really nice and firmly, and it's so smooth and creamy. I just love it. Now remember, it is plain yogurt. It might take a little bit of time to get used to it because so much of the yogurt in the store is just full of sugar and extra flavorings and things that just aren't as good for us. So try a little drizzle of honey on it. After probably, I think 2.5 years I've been making my own yogurt. I'll post a link to my smoothies below in the description. So if you want to see how I make smoothies with my yogurt, you can check that out. Also, since this is my starter for the next go round, make sure you save at least a half a jar of yogurt to start your second batch. And you could also freeze this as your starter. So if you're not sure you're going to get it made, in a 10-day to 14-day period to make your next batch, 10 days is kind of what I recommend, to make it every 10 days. You can pull it out of the freezer and use it. Consistency will change a little bit. It might seem a little watery, might seem like, ooh, might not be something you want to eat out of the freezer, but it will preserve as a starter so you can remake your yogurt again. Anyway, good luck to you, and I hope you have fun making your own yogurt like I do.